we're going to perhaps discuss for the next 45 or 50 minutes or 55 minutes the subject, the result of the Theosophical study. Is it too loud?
No, it's okay.
No, it's fine.
Lots of times when we are traveling, especially if one is carrying a theosophical book with an interesting title, say for example, The Voice of the Silence, and even if you are wearing a shirt which has the symbol of the theosophical symbol, like I think I've had the privilege of wearing the Singaporean t-shirts, the blue one and the yellow one to begin with, and then of course I have the turquoise blue and the other one, purple one. So when we wear that and we are there in the train, catching a train in the platform or waiting at the airport to get into the plane, we often come across this question because they see the last page, like many people go to the last page to find out what exactly the book contains. So there it is there, the Theosophical Society, for further information, contact this. So they get to that and they ask this interesting question: what is the Theosophical Society and what is Theosophy? They do ask because the word theo is very familiar to all of them, and they also believe, a lot of people believe, that we are an organization oriented towards the Christianity. Theology is perhaps what they study. So they have a feeling that we are connected to the Christian faith. A lot of people in the Hindu part of the country, the Indian, South Indian part of the country, they even today believe that we perhaps belong to the Christian faith. Then it takes a lot of time for us to explain that we do have a different concept of what is religion. And interestingly, the questioners don't believe that we don't have a classical definition for theosophy. It's not there. There is no definition as such, like how economics, for example, was defined by Adam Smith, the Scottish economist. Long time ago, he said it is the inquiry into the wealth of nations. That's how he defined in the beginning. Later on, there are so many other definitions of economics. So we don't have something like that precisely to say what is theosophy as such. There are so many ways in which theosophy has been explained. I would say explained because everybody has come out with their own statements as to what theosophy is. So many have given their versions, and we see the first one there. Theosophy is a body of truths which forms the basis for all religions, said a wise one. He also added, the theosophy will be the cornerstone for all the future religions to come. A lot of persons break this word theosophy into two, theo and sophy, and understand or try to understand that word. Theo is God, which we all have been taught in the textbooks, like for example the textbook of Theosophy by C.W. Leadbeater, and Sophy is wisdom. And this God which has been talked about there is the capital G. Madame Blavatsky says, it is not the God's wisdom, it is not the capital God's wisdom, capital G, capital God, that wisdom, but it is a wisdom as possessed by gods, meaning the small g. Everyone can go to that stage of becoming a divine person. So, a wisdom possessed by gods, the small g. In the introduction itself of the book, The Key to Theosophy, Madame Blavatsky says, Theosophy is wisdom. There is a small hyphen there in between, wisdom hyphen religion. Maybe it's missing there in the slide, but Theosophy is wisdom hyphen religion. At another place in the same book, she says Theosophy is altruism, as we just heard from Madame Lily. It is Nishkama Karma, as Brother Vivek was talking the other day when we were having coffee outside. Theosophy is divine wisdom, said Brother N. Sriram, the 5th International President of the Theosophical Society. So many others explain Theosophy in their own words. In Bengal and Utkal, which are two states of India, they call it Brahma Vidya. They call it Brahma Vidya. Brahma meaning Parabrahma, not the four-headed one. Yet another explanation or statement given by Madame Blavatsky is Theosophy is a shoreless ocean of universal truth, love and wisdom reflecting its radiance on earth. So when we study Theosophy, we understand it is an inclusive theosophy. It is an inclusive philosophy as such. It talks about the universal brotherhood without any distinctions whatsoever. It talks about the study of comparative religion, philosophy and science. It also talks about the laws of nature and the powers latent in man. To begin with, the Theosophical Society had only one single object when it started in 1875. Only in 1879, this object got rewritten at the behest of the Master. And Theosophy talks about the existence of a device plan. Interestingly, there is a book written by the compendium of lectures given by Jeffrey Waldbroca with the same name, The Divine Plan, which is actually a guidebook to study the secret doctrine. But we are talking about the divine plan as it exists in the universe. So this divine plan covers the scheme of evolution. It talks about how the universe came into being. Theosophy talks about the birth and the growth of man. Theosophy gives the details of the solar system and the details of our planet Earth. For example, they say, according to the rounds, we are in the 4th round. The Earth is in the 4th round. So the root race is in the 5th round, 5 by 5, but the Earth as such is in the 4th round. And Theosophy also talks about the laws of nature, especially the law of karma or the law of cause and effect, on which our teacher, Madame Blavatsky, laid a lot of emphasis. So divine plan includes many more other facets. For example, in the book Isis Unveiled of Madame Blavatsky, there is a mention of how the universal consciousness is aware when a dry leaf falls away from the tree. The universal consciousness is aware when a dry leaf falls away from the tree. So this is how the universal consciousness functions. man thinks many a times what he does is not known to anybody. Sometimes he does it in his own private quarters. He perhaps feels that nobody knows about what he's doing. But Theosophy says there are lipikas, the recorders, who record each and everything, including the thoughts which were not put into action. So thoughts, words and deeds get registered by the lipikas. Interestingly, of all the 5 senses we have with which we do a lot of work, the mouth has 2 functions to do. It speaks, it eats. Both it does a lot. So a person who has got control on his speaking, frivolous talk, as well as eating only when he is hungry, I believe he swims ashore quite confidently. So this is, by the way, some information which I thought I would pass on. So we were talking about the divine plan, the Almighty and His hierarchy. See to it that the plan is executed perfectly. So He guides, He, capital He guides and gives shape to the divine plan, and other celestial beings help Him, assist Him to see that the plan is properly implemented. We often hear these 3 words, especially in the context of the Hindu philosophy as such: Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasa. Shravana is hearing basically, and perhaps most of you know that the disciples of Plato were made to listen for 12 years. Their job is only to listen. They will not even question. They will not ask anything. They will only listen. And when the Guru is ready to receive a question at some other time, not wasting other people's time, the disciple goes and finds out what exactly this could mean. So perhaps we can rephrase this. We can add one more thing. Shravana, Patana is studying. Manana is constantly thinking about what we have studied. And Nididhyasa, which should be the way in which Theosophy has to be studied. Theosophy has to be studied, thought over, and stay rooted to it. We stay rooted to the philosophy of Theosophy. The Theosophical Society as such was supposed to be one, but then it has become so many. But Theosophy remains one. So we are rooted to that Theosophy. And my teacher who taught me Ramayana, he was telling me Nididhyasa means when the oil is poured from one big vessel to a smaller vessel, when it starts pouring, there is no interruption. The water sometimes gets interrupted, but the oil, when it comes down from the bigger vessel to the smaller vessel, there is no interruption. And that sort of attention, that is Nididhyasa. Complete attention. This is what we are asked to have, that as an element in our study. It is said by Madame Blavatsky in the book, The Key to Theosophy, the members of the Theosophical Society study such truths and Theosophists endeavored to live them. The members of the Theosophical Society study such truths and Theosophists endeavor to live them. So there is a difference which he is suggesting between a member of the Theosophical Society and a person who can be called a Theosophist. Maybe I need to think twice before I call myself a theosophist. Am I one? Am I putting the theosophical truths into practice? Is something which I need to ask myself. Theosophy doesn't believe in making a dogmatic presentation. Dogma, is something which is very definitive about it. So Theosophy doesn't believe in making a dogmatic presentation. Madam HPB says, don't accept anything because I have said it. She advises, study well, even if it takes a lot of time. Think over it, contemplate on it, and arrive at your own understanding of what that concept is. And that is how Theosophy has to be studied. That deeper understanding of Theosophy will pave the way for us and will enable us as a person to lead a theosophical life. A lot of times people ask me, does it mean that you completely agree with the other person? No. We may differ with another, but we do it with a lot of concern and affection. We don't lose the person in the process of differing. The G.S. Arundale, the third international president of the Theosophical Society, gave a call, together differently. Together differently. So the study of Theosophy will result in our becoming humane, wise, and humble. Why is one humble? Because he is wise, says the scripture. So studying is the first step. Understanding thoroughly is the second step. Implementing that in life is the third logical step. Lot depends on me, my efforts to transform myself as a theosophist from a mere member of the Theosophical Society. So the prime duty of a theosophist is to put into practice the true wisdom, the ancient wisdom, the divine wisdom, which is called Theosophy. A person, a theosophist, who studies and understands the divine plan of what Theosophy has given to us, understands bit by bit as it unfolds, and when he cooperates with the plan, his progress is sure and swifter, and it goes in the right direction. The connotation cooperate is understood differently in India. Cooperate means to listen to him, to listen to the other person and follow him. That's cooperation. He is not cooperating with me, means he is not listening to me. But that's not. Cooperate. Again, there is a hyphen. Co-operate. We'll operate together. So that's where perhaps we need to correct ourselves. And we have to cooperate with the divine plan so that the progress is swifter and in the right direction. All things that have come into existence are marching towards progress. There's another comforting thought in Theosophy. There is only Purogamana, means advancement, and there is no Tirogamana, means regressive path. It's not there. Similarly, there's another thought which is given in the Isis Unveiled, which talks about after the individualization of the soul, he doesn't go back to the group soul, and there is no possibility of his taking birth as a cat or a dog or as an insect. Maybe he will live with the propensities of an animal, though he is a man, but he will not go back to the group soul. This is something, again, a very comforting thought. But a lot of Hindu mythological texts, they give that fear complex into the person. Oh, if you don't follow this, you'll become an insect in the next life. That's not there. That's not true. Then, the divine plan taken from all the sources say that the plan is working for the good of humanity. There is progress for everything that gets manifested in the universe. There is only progress for everything that's getting manifested in the universe. Man is a product of time and is programmed to achieve perfection and also achieve divinity. That's the ultimate thing. And Theosophy promotes, I think Michael is not there, no, is there? No, I don't know. Theosophy promotes self-knowledge, and through self-knowledge, self-realization. Because the other day he was saying, I don't think you people talk about self-realization. No, there is a mention about the self-knowledge, and through self-knowledge, the self-realization. Man has all the opportunities to cover himself with glory. Sometimes it may look like he's trying very hard, but he's not able to find his way. He's not able to find his way. Maybe man sometimes, or many times, is groping in darkness. When he sees light, or the light dawns on him, it is not from the external source that the light is dawning on him. It is something which has come from an internal manifestation, that wisdom, that light. From within, he will find his pathway to progress and marches, and he will march towards his goal of perfection. Light from within, when it happens, it is there for good. It is said it is illumination. There is a process which has been talked about in our theosophy or our philosophy. We will take it up if there is time. And we'll talk next about the law of karma, about which Madame Blavatsky had talked a lot. The law of karma, due to which man has been placed in different conditions, he is made to be born at a particular place, born to a set of parents, and maybe the conditions in which he is born, etc., etc. All these things are happening, she says, because of the lines he has drawn all by himself in this life, or the karma, sometimes like a ball is thrown onto the wall, it comes and hits me back. That is happening in this life. But sometimes what I have done in the past affects me now. So that's how she says the lines are drawn by the person, and so according to the lines in those border in which he is living, or he is carrying on, he is born, he carries on life. And the Lipikas, about whom we talked about some time back, they are the people who adjust the karma, and they give that much of karma which a person can bear in this life. Though this much of karma is there for me, a large amount of karma is there for me, the entire thing is not put on my back. They make it into a sizable, bearable portion, and then they give it to me so that I should live, exhaust that karma as I come into this world. But living, again, in the process of living, maybe if we don't know the knack of doing the karma, we do such actions which will also add up to the karma which we are already having. So that is one way of looking at the law of karma. All conditions which a man is going through is because of the lines he has drawn, is what we have studied. Sometimes that person is brought up by some other kind soul or souls. Like Madame Blavatsky was brought up by her maternal grandparents. This also happens as per the law of karma. We always want life to be advantageous in a way in which we find it advantageous. But all conditions are not always advantageous to us. Sometimes one faces adverse situations which are not to be construed as impediments to our progress. The situations in life are not supposed to be construed as impediments to one's progress. There is a slide, perhaps it is given by Leo Tolstoy. Difficulties in life are there to make one better and not bitter. Difficulties in life are there to make one better and not bitter. Yes, it is true that there is darkness, sometimes there is sorrow, there is suffering in man's life, but the one who is familiar with the law of karma, one who realizes how the law of karma operates, he knows that these are lines which have been already drawn by the individual, and so he carries on gamely without struggling, without trying to avoid. My grandfather used to give me an example of some people trying to avoid. We used to have a clock which had a pendulum. So if the pendulum is held in hand and released, it will operate number of times. The strokes will be very fast and more bigger in number. It's allowed to function normally. It goes like a second, tuck, 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 tuck. When I hold it, it becomes tuck, 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 tuck. So my grandfather used to say, that's how when you try to duck or avoid karma, that will hit you with that sort of a speed. So it's better to go through with the karma than try to escape from it, duck and take a resort to some guru or somebody who promises that yes, I'll remove all your karma. So all this is not to be done is what Madame Blavatsky has talked about. We have talked about individual karma so far. There is also what is called collective karma, or sum and substance of the karma of all the persons living in a particular nation, which is called the national karma, or a group karma as it is called. And we see, even today, one nation is inflicting pain on another nation. A man who is a theosophist knows the cause and may say, this too will pass, through the efforts of the hierarchy of the inner government of the world. This too will pass with the efforts of the inner government of the world, the hierarchy which is there in the inner government of the world. I believe, I heard it from somebody very authoritative. The gentleman from North Korea, who is the president, was stopped from pushing the button sometime back, maybe 2 years back or something, by the inner government of the world. Otherwise, we would have had a nuclear explosion and things like that. So that's how the inner government of the world functions, without our realizing how they are functioning, how they are working, and all that. It's a good book which is available on the inner government of the world. We see the whole process normally with our physical eyes, but if you can see with the inner eye and with an insight which we are all endowed with, we will understand this concept of national karma better. behind all which doesn't look good today, maybe there is a plan, maybe there is a cause, and every incident is part of the evolutionary process. For example, the Atlantean civilization went under the sea. We know, we have studied that in the textbook of Theosophy and so many other books. Similarly, the place where Lord Krishna lived and ruled, by name Dwarka, which is there in Gujarat, much of it has gone under the sea. So this is something which has happened as per the process which is evolution. So for someone who can see with a spiritual eye, there is order and perfect rhythm in everything that's happening. So for someone who is seeing with a spiritual eye, there is order and perfect rhythm in everything that's happening. So the result of the study of Theosophy helps us to understand the world and the happenings of the world, which are not so comfortable for the ear or for the eye, but we'll get the clarity when we are backed by Theosophy. For a Theosophist, there is always hope. He lives with that hope, and he senses healing thoughts to those who are suffering. We did that exactly sometime back when Madam Lily did her meditation, and we sent the good thoughts to all the people who are assembled in this room, and also to all the people who are assembled elsewhere, all the living creatures elsewhere. For example, the Ritual of the Mystic Star, written by President Jinaraj Dasa. At the end of this ritual, this process is done. And we also have the same process in the Bharat Samaja Puja, which is an allied activity of the Theosophical Society. So, we are talking about the healing thoughts which all the members of the Theosophical Society are capable of sending. The third international president, about whom we talked some time back, the President George G.S. Arundale, wrote a prayer. It runs like this: "O powers of love." Many of you perhaps are aware of it or familiar with it. Still, I'm reading it out for some of those who are perhaps not so familiar with the prayer, which is a beautiful prayer. O powers of love, we pledge to you our faithfulness, knowing that only love can redeem this world. We invoke your blessings on all those who try to serve you. We invoke your blessings on all those who have to endure suffering, that they may joyfully discover their enfoldment in your love, even in the midst of their affliction. This is a very interesting thought. We invoke your blessings on all those, this is what we are supposed to do. We invoke your blessings on all those who have to endure suffering, that they may joyfully discover their enfoldment in your love, even in the midst of their affliction. The last one is still better. We invoke your blessings on all those who willfully inflict suffering, that they may be moved to return to you and serve you. The last phrases which we have gone through is more meaningful. He says, we invoke your blessings on all those who willfully inflict suffering, that they may be moved to return to you and serve you. This is the prayer, O Powers of Love, by George Sidney Arundale, the third international president. The prayer is self-explanatory, nothing much need to be talked about it. So, one of the results of the study of theosophy is to live for the principle of universal brotherhood and that oneness which we talk about, but we have to realize that oneness in our heart. We talk about a nucleus of universal brotherhood in our object. Where is that nucleus? It's not external, it's within our heart. So, this is the principle of universal brotherhood. And we see love is very much needed at this hour in the state in which we find ourselves in. Love can redeem this world, as he says. Love, compassion, harmony, peace, and serenity. These virtues will form an integral part of a person who is a student of theosophy. Love, compassion, harmony, peace, and serenity. These virtues will form an integral part of a person who is a student of theosophy. All the above are divine virtues, divine qualities. Man is journeying towards divinity. And then theosophy, when studied well and practiced well, both are going to walk the talk, as they talk about it. Theosophy, when studied well and practiced well, will transform us. Already formation has taken place, it will transform us. We will stop grabbing, seeking, and we'll start giving. So we have a slide which talks about, are you interested in giving or taking? Giving and sharing should become our way of life. Giving and sharing should become our way of life. My son took a lot of effort to teach his daughter how to share everything. But she came back once and said, Nana, means father, they are not sharing things with me. Should I share? Even then, even now, you should share. That's what he said. So these values are going from one generation to another generation. So there is joy while giving. One experiences joy when one is giving. So are we interested in giving or taking? This is the point which we have to consider. For example, courtesy. They say courtesy is the easiest of all virtues. It gives joy to the person who is giving and is also giving happiness to the person who is receiving. But are we courteous all the time? This needs to be thought about because we snap sometimes. So is it required? So if we rehearse our lines, if we question ourselves before we put those thoughts into words, maybe yes, we'll be able to do a better job of it. So another reason one should study theosophy is one can live without worry. Theosophy, the study of theosophy, promotes this worrylessness. There is no worry for him. If I may be permitted to talk about my grandfather, my mentor and everything, he was not worried even when there was no money. He only suggested maybe we don't eat rice this evening, maybe we'll eat something else. So we're not starving. Why are you worried? I was crying because I was 14 when I asked that question. What shall we do this evening? We don't have rice at home. He said, don't worry, we'll do something else. He has no worries. And at the time of his retirement from active service, 5 orphans, all 5 of us, went under his care. So he took care of us, never even complained even once. I'm saying this because theosophy has gone into his life so much. And I'll tell you how he passed away, because that's very, very interesting. He was about to deliver a lecture at a rural place of Karnataka. At 5, perhaps, he would have started his lecture. But then, 4:55, he complained of chest pain. He passed away in the primary health center at 5:05. With Bhagavad Gita in his hand, with his lecture notes in hand, he came like that, with a broad smile on his face. He passed away. That was he. I'm just saying this because theosophy has gotten to him, and he told me a number of times, Theosophical Society may take you away so many places, so many people may say this, that, this, but theosophy, get rooted to theosophy. Don't think about this. Don't think about, you are not joined for their sake. You are not joined the Theosophical Society for their sake. So get rooted to theosophy was his suggestion. So he knows, a theosophist knows, nothing wrong can happen to him. Nothing wrong can happen to him. Even when the events are not so favorable, a theosophist will know how to face the situation with equanimity and poise. Then, a theosophist puts his best foot forward to protect the weak and to defend those who are unjustly attacked. This is what the Golden Stairs talks about. This, the Golden Stairs, has been given to us by Madame Blavatsky, but in a letter, the Master has given it to her. So this is how we are guided by theosophy at every stage. So it's a great way of moving forward and living a theosophical life. For those people who follow the Golden Stairs, that's a beautiful way of moving forward and lead a spiritual life, a theosophical life. And what we need is a constant eye and not a casual eye to the idea of human progression and perfection. We need to have that constant eye, not a casual eye. I'll attempt it today and not attempt tomorrow. No, you'll always be there on it, right through. So, a student of theosophy, having studied theosophy, pledges himself to work for the good of humanity. He lives to help others. He is not governed by petty, selfish mind which keeps seeking endlessly. A theosophist is ever present to lend his shoulder, to lean on to those who need his support. Another great reason and valuable benefit of studying theosophy is that it removes the fear of death. Theosophy explains that there is life after death. There is no death to the real man. This is the clear message of theosophy. So when this is clearly understood, put in its place, death, if it is put in its place, death will be the sister of sleep. A student of theosophy is always interested in right action, right means of livelihood. A student of theosophy, he knows that he is there to perform action, always a beneficial action, not a selfish action. No selfishness involved. Like the Bhagavad Gita says, the theosophist is not attached to the end results of his action. Results may be delayed but not denied. Even if he fails, he starts the work all over again with equanimity and with poise, as said by Rudyard Kipling in his poem, The If. He starts all over again. So, even if the results are adverse, a theosophist knows how to face the situations and take the results in his hand and walk. That is his Gita. A student of theosophy, being aware of what is wisdom, religion, lives to practice the core religion. What is wisdom, religion? She is explained somewhere else. It is like the river bed which is there, which is constant, and the water keeps changing based on seasons in a river. The river bed is constant. That is wisdom, religion. So, water keeps changing. That's how the various faiths have come into this world. But theosophy is that wisdom, religion. So she said, a person who knows what is wisdom, religion, will practice the core religion, and he will do away with superstitions and meaningless rituals. If I don't know the meaning, I should be performing that ritual. Blavatsky says, if the fangs of the religion, if they're removed, fangs, like the snake has the fangs, fangs of the religion, if they're removed, all religions, all faiths, they become truly religious and worth following. A truly religious person is one who believes in order and peace, order within, which brings order without. There is order within, so that brings order without. A study of theosophy helps a person to regenerate himself. Human regeneration means moving away from selfishness and embracing oneness and marching towards nishkama karma, altruism. So the result of study of theosophy enables a person to live a life without an iota of selfishness. There is a process to know how selfish I am at the end of the day. Whether we are progressing or not, I know how to do it. So if anybody and everybody does that practice, perhaps they will be able to weed out what is selfish and embrace what is not selfish. Even if I seek nirvana or liberation for myself, that achievement is not going to give me joy. But if I share the process, I become a real helper of humanity. Theosophy means or includes, a theosophist is one who tries to lift another by his bootlaces. He is a true follower of theosophy. He is lifting a person by his bootlaces and he is helping a person. He is a true follower of theosophy. There is a paradigm shift from me to we. How many times have we seen M is written like this? Reverse it, that becomes W. M is written like this. You put it that way, it becomes W. Me becomes we. So journeying towards we is what a theosophist does. And we also talk about our motto, which the founders picked up from the palace of the king of Benares, Ramnagar. Satyam nasti paro dharmaha. There is no religion higher than truth. Satya includes not just the ability to speak only the truth, but it also includes compassion, tolerance, understanding, charity, and being good to others. I don't know how many people know here. There used to be a person by name Samuel Ballard. Brother Raghava must be remembering him. He used to walk with the aid of a walking stick. He would walk. One question was put in the convention question answer session as to how will you practice brotherhood with your wife? That was the question. Brotherhood, and how can you practice that with your wife? He said, showing a lot of charity, charitable disposition I have towards her, lot of trust I have in her, lot of love I have towards her, and taking care of her without any expectations. That is perhaps being brotherly to my wife. So that's how members of the Theosophical Society lives they try to live their lives. Dharma is loosely translated as religion. Dharma means, again, so many things. But how we live religiously, conscientiously, for a purpose, that determines our dharma. So my dharma, if I can say with humility, is to live or lead a theosophical life. We live for the truth. We study, contemplate, meditate, and arrive at our own truth. That truth is of oneness and brotherliness. The study of theosophy also gives a person the importance of non-violence. Non-violence doesn't just mean absence of war. It could be so many other ways in which violence can be practiced. He will grant freedom. The theosophical member or theosophist will grant freedom to the other person which he himself would like to be granted by others. A theosophist will not thrust his opinion on others, even on children. But he will value and consider others' opinions carefully. So we need to believe in the concepts of karma and reincarnation as per our teacher, Madam Blavatsky. That study gives us a mental strength to face the vagaries and the vicissitudes of life. To progress in this path of self-realization, a theosophical student would learn to take control of his lower self and lead a life as guided by the higher self. This paves the way towards perfection. The theosophical student is familiar with the three truths of theosophy. The theosophical student is familiar with the three truths of theosophy as given by the book, The Ideal and the White Lotus. They are there for everyone to read. And he understands these rules or these truths and leads a life in line with that three principles or three truths. In fact, that is the spirit of theosophy. So the principle of life, for example, is within us and without us. Means life is there, same everywhere. He understands the soul of man is immortal. The soul of man is immortal. he also understands that he is responsible for his glory or gloom. So the result of the study of theosophy will enable us to lead the right kind of life, will enable us to lead the theosophical life, will enable us to lead a life wherein I don't tread on other man's toes, but I walk helping others to grow. Thank you.